Ladies and gentlemen, One Piece chapter 1117 is out. This chapter was a very interesting chapter. I feel like there was a lot of foreshadowing and maybe things getting set up for the future, so we have a lot to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. So first, I want to, again, just every time this happens in the chapters, I just have to give props to Oda of how many characters and callbacks he's bringing into the last, 10 chapters just to show us people reacting to Vegapunk's message. It's just like, he could have stopped 3 chapters ago and I still would have thought it was, amazing the amount of different characters he's showcasing from previously in the story, but it just continues to go on and on and on. So many characters are making reappearances, and it's just, the only manga or story capable of doing this in our age of storytelling is One Piece, so it's just really refreshing to see all these new characters, or I guess old characters in a new setting, come and react to Vegapunk's message. I could do this forever, just constant chapters of people reacting to what's happening to our crew and stuff like that. It's just so amazing. That being said, I do think something's pretty interesting with the first batch of characters Oda chooses to react to Vegapunk's message in this chapter, and that being the Sword members. If you really think about the characters that we've been shown that are reacting to Vegapunk's message, they're all characters from way, way long ago in the story, arcs and islands that don't really have any impact on what's happening in the story right now. This group of reactors in X-Drake and Kobe and all of Sword, I think is the first group that we're getting that is reacting to Vegapunk's message that will have a direct impact very soon in the story. Their reactions kind of hinted at, in my opinion, hinted at something that's coming for this group of characters very soon, as opposed to all the other characters that were reacting to Vegapunk's message. It's very just fan servicey, oh look, there's Iceberg reacting to it. Oh look, there's this person reacting to it. This group of characters feels like their reactions and their, I guess, stance on what's happening in the world is very important, because we just got Sword fighting at Blackbeard's Island. We're kind of wondering what their next step is, if they want to go save Garp or they want to go attack Blackbeard. So Oda including them reacting to this Vegapunk message, to me, is not like the other characters, right? It's very clearly showing us that these guys are about to take action and do something big. And I mean, that's just prevalent in the dialogue if you look at this chapter. When Kobe's talking about Vegapunk's message, he kind of just brushes over it, oh, this is so much to take in, and immediately jumps into talking to his other Sword members it's time to do something, right? We're about to get some bad news from the higher ups. We're gonna have to break orders and go save Garp, aren't we? There's something brewing here. And I think Oda also including X-Drake into this, very clearly listening to their conversation, is super interesting. I did not expect him to have a potential impact on the story after the Wano arc. So to see him, maybe, I mean, this is a stretch just based off his facial expression and hit the dots above him as he's listening to Kobe. Will he potentially join the raid to go save Garp? Or is he gonna join this Kobe Helmeppo group? I don't know. I think could be pretty cool to see that interesting group of characters go onto a raid for Blackbeard's Island. I don't think they'd be able to do it. They're clearly not strong enough, but maybe that leads into another incident, one of our main characters Luffy or Kid or Law or something going to Blackbeard's Island and meeting up with them, something like that. Something is brewing here, and it's not just them reacting to Vegapunk's message. That's what I'm trying to get at here. And of course, off the back of that, we also get Smoker one panel later. I mean, the amount of Marines that are we have those Marines in One Piece who are they're Marines, so they're technically bad guys, but they're actually good guys, right? Fujitora, Smoker, X-Drake, Kobe. All of these characters are getting put in this one sequence of panels. Something is coming with these characters, especially after, I'm now just realizing, we're getting that Akainu kind of everyone's kind of wondering if Akainu's gonna divide the Navy because he's not fucking with the Gorosei anymore after this Vegapunk message. Something's brewing within the Navy, and this chapter is making me feel like it's coming as soon as possible. Enough about the Marines though, let's jump onto what's going on at Egghead Island. We actually get some Venus and Zoro clashing here. To be honest, Venus has been in action so much this arc that I thought if Zoro was going to get a little clash set up with him, it would have been super long ago when he was first introduced, so I was not expecting Oda to actually pull through with this. Also, the fact that Zoro's recognizing the Kitetsu blade, everyone was sort of hoping for this sort of interaction between these two. I always thought it was a pipe dream, the connection was there, but we weren't gonna get it established because there's not enough time in the story. But to see those two clash, and also to see Zoro recognize that it's a blade that he knows, something is very clearly getting set up here as well. I know at the beginning of this video I did say there's a lot of stuff getting set up for the future in this chapter. This is what I mean. First the Marines and now this interaction. To be honest with you, I did have a gripe with this reaction. Of course, it's a power scaling gripe. You probably heard me complain 4 or 5 chapter reviews in a row that like the Conqueror's Haki is not being displayed correctly, Advanced Conqueror's Haki isn't being shown, like Oda's not drawing it anymore, even though these are like the top tier characters in the universe. It seems like Conqueror's Haki is being used here by both characters, like the lightning is crazy, but they're very clearly like touching each other, so it's not like Conqueror's coding, but like they both also go flying, and then like this like spark is like left in the middle, so like it is Conqueror's coding. I just don't, I can't tell anymore. I'm at the point where I'm like turning my brain off and not caring about the levels of Haki the characters are using, and I'm just enjoying the fact that Zoro's clashing with the Gorosei member. But like it is disappointing to see that a lot of the structured tiers of strength in the story have just gotten thrown out the window this arc. It happens. So then the meat of this chapter, the big thing everyone's talking about, what the chapter's titled after, is Vegapunk's message getting cut off when he's about to say something about the will of D and the D clan. Now, depending on what version of the chapter you read, whether it was like the TCB Scans, like Raw's version, or the officials that came out on this Sunday, this message is sort of, it's different depending on which version you read, and also the original Japanese version. There's a big translation error here that I'm going to try and explain. I have very limited Japanese knowledge, but I'm going to try and like get the point across. So in the Scans version, the chapter's titled Mo, like M-O dash, as if the word more like got cut off, like Vegapunk was about to say the word more and it got cut off. A lot of people saw this and are forgetting that the manga is in Japanese originally and thought Vegapunk was getting cut off saying an English word, or I saw some people saying he was going to say monkey, like for Monkey D. Luffy, and got cut off. That's not quite how it works, and I think the official translations that came out this Sunday are a little more accurate. The Japanese here is Omae-san tachi no naka ni mo, which briefly means like amongst you guys there is also, or there is some, like another, and then he gets cut off, right? The letter, or I guess the character mo in Japanese implies like also or on top of that, right? So he's pretty much saying amongst you guys there is also, and then the message gets cut off, right? It's not like a word that starts with mo, or like he's not saying the English word more, right? His sentence is very clearly getting cut off at mo, the particle, the Japanese particle, which is a like word in itself. It's not part of a word like people are saying. He didn't get cut off in the middle of the word. The sentence is very clearly just like amongst you guys there is also cut. And I think the officials do the translation a little better. In the official translation, which I'm reading now, he says within those of you who bear the name of D, within you there is cut, right? And that's why on the officials the chapter is titled A dash, and then the scans that I'm talking about were titled Mo dash. Like this is why I kind of recommend people to go read the officials as well, because they're kind of translation discrepancies. But this one especially, because the moment that Vegapunk's speech gets cut off is very important, and the grammar is a little like shifty. It's pretty important to understand the differences between the Japanese and then the scans and then the official translation, because it can mean and imply completely different things. So I hope that makes sense. As for what he's saying, I honestly haven't put much thought into it. I have no idea as to what he could be referring to. The only inkling I have is that I don't understand why Oda would include both Beppo and Blackbeard in this panel. Obviously I know because Blackbeard's a D member and Law is a D member, but it feels to me like those two being on this panel where Vegapunk is talking about the D is reminiscent of how there's D members with different motivations, right? For example, Blackbeard's a D member who wants to take over the world, Luffy's a D member who just wants to be free and is going to eventually liberate the world, and Law is a D member who just wants to know the history of the world, right, and wants to know his checkered fate, as he calls it. So I think these three characters are very deliberately put in this panel as Vegapunk is speaking, because he was going to say something about the nature of the will of D, or like how amongst them there is someone who is either like a traitor or like the chosen one, something along those lines, right? I can't really tell you what it is. I really have no idea, but just the fact that we're getting like each different like stereotype of D member in this panel, to me verifies that it's about someone specifically or some archetype of people in the D clan, if that makes any sense. And with that, I think we're closer to the Egghead the end of Egghead that we've ever been. I mean, technically that's how chapters work anyway. The more chapters released, the closer we are to the end. But we finally get the end of Vegapunk's message. All of the Straw Hats are like are on the ship to escape, or like within the proximity. I think we're within 3 chapters of leaving the island, if I had to guess. So, to be honest with you, I am so happy that this arc happened the way it did. We all thought it was a transition arc and it ended up being one of the greatest arcs, if not the greatest arc in the whole story. However, I am so eager to get this little in-between arc where we get a Straw Hat bounty raise, we see all the newspapers, and then we're on to Elbaf, the arc we've been waiting for since Little Garden. Man, I'm going to say at the end of every chapter review nowadays, if there's a time to get into One Piece, it is now. Let your friends know, show them these chapters, tell them to get strapped in, because it's time. It's time to join the One Piece hype train. See you guys next week.